Talking CRM with Jeff and David, getting the best value for the whole organization from your integrated CRM and accounting systems. David Beard, CRM Principal, and Jeff Richards, Head of Training Program Development for Sage CRM, spend time chatting with customers, resellers, and others about Sage CRM in action around the globe. In this episode, we talk further with Danny Lewis of Qmulus Solutions in the UK about his breadth of customers and examples of CRM in action, and why he has started making CRM components available to benefit customers around the world. Interesting way to frame that, because it's essentially making sure that the understanding and evolution is account managed, psychologically managed as well as possible, past that first obstacle, this first speed hump, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. I started asking questions about technologies that were coming down the road. If you had a magic wand, what would you change right now in Sage CRM?
May I borrow your wand and jump on Jeff's question here? Given that we position CRM as an additive set of features to our current accounting customers around the world, many of whom are on products that are of a certain age, how would you help those customers? Dropping the wand is actually what I'm saying. How would you talk more and help more of those customers to see the benefit of CRM? So I'm kind of moving you on from the project conversation as well, if I may.
Interestingly, Sage CRM is one of those products in the Sage portfolio, especially a few years back, slightly less so now, that it actually has the ability to be a sort of true cloud product. Maybe not SaaS, but true cloud product. We've been running and hosting Sage CRM solutions in the cloud, and to the customer, it's a cloud purchase subscription product for 7, 8, 9 years now. And the ability for it to display data and that data to then be linked to the back office GUI desktop, as you say, sort of slightly older technology applications within the Sage portfolio, but present that data in a web browser to any device from anywhere is one of the key benefits that customers actually have. So, for example, being able to take your quote and order process away from Sage 50 or Sage 200 as a desktop product, but then migrate that usage into predominantly what's seen, whether it's locally loaded or in the cloud, as a browser-based application.
So we're actually modernizing the whole back office experience, not the whole. A portion of the back office, yes.
Exactly, but utilizing products that Sage has had for many years. So I think people see it as a way in which they can see, even if it's just seeing their customers and phone numbers and addresses, some of their accounts information, and then spanning it further if they did want to use it for quotes and orders, etc., and taking that whole process out of the account system. And that's actually one of our original selling points around using Sage CRM, buying Sage CRM, is that predominantly when people have used Sage 50 or Sage 200 for a longer period of time, their salespeople have been going into Sage 50, they've been creating customer records and then creating quotes against those customer records to get the quotes out the door. But what you end up with is a Sage 50 database with 20,000 customer records, of which actually 2,000 or 3,000 of them have ever transacted, a load of quotes and some orders. What we always pitch it as is that you take that whole prospecting, pre-sales functionality and that quoting functionality, stick it in the hands of the salespeople that predominantly would be on the road or at least in the office through a browser or on any device such as their phone or a tablet, and allow them to process that outside of the accounts system. And that's one of the key points around our integrations.
And so not only you have a better physical and user experience, you're actually putting the right tool in the right hands. Because I'm touching on this idea, you see all the time, I certainly see all the time, people retrofitting CRM type data into an account system. And it's just, that's not what you do.
Absolutely.
But people do because they haven't anything else or don't know any better in the nicest possible way.
If you look at the database, if you look at the structure of Sage CRM, there's 80% of an account system in there. You've got the companies, the people, the phone numbers, everything else. And that's where our touch points come into the integrations into the Sage 200 products and Sage X3, etc. We've implemented CRM into small businesses and very large businesses that transact thousands of orders a day through Sage CRM. The ability to take that framework and just push the transactional information, the actual order or the actual shipment in X3 straight into the account system, but leave the front end and the speed and agility of development and the UI, which is more modern looking than some of the old sort of more traditional desktop GUI-based Sage systems. Putting that in the hands of the people that actually need that kind of functionality has been one of the key bits.
Almost as if we'd rehearsed this conversation, which we haven't, I can assure you listeners. Tell us your favorite story, small or large or whatever industry you like, of what CRM has done for a business. Give me a working example of where that's delivered such a great return.
We've got a few companies, we're not going to mention any names, but we've got a few companies that have had slightly different implementations. So, for example, one of our customers is a sporting goods equipment reseller. They wanted to have a more modern way in which they could raise quotes and orders and track their customers, etc. Whilst they're out on sites and at sports grounds and bits and bobs like that. They looked at Sage CRM. One of the key drivers from the outset is that they would only be accessing it via iPads, but it allows them the access to that back office processing. So they have a warehouse that ships the goods, but all of the orders and all of the quotes, etc., are done off iPads while they're out on the road. That's been really beneficial for them to be able to take orders and look at stuff while they're on the go.
And they're passing information to and from a back office system, but it's done through Sage CRM.
Exactly right. Yeah.
Okay.
The actual back office system for them is Sage 50, but it could be any sort of Sage application that sat there and took orders, because obviously each business's back office order taking process, whether they need to pick, pack and dispatch or just invoice, changes, and the Sage products in the background can match and fit that type of business. But the CRM system remains consistent. And we've taken customers from Sage 50 and moved those Sage 50 customers up to Sage 200 as their requirements for Sage accounts has grown. But for them, the salesperson and the front office users interface into that has remained exactly the same. Right. They've just continued to do what they're doing in the same way they've always done it. But the actual back office processing has then grown in relation to the needs of the business.
Okay, so as a parallel question, so that's at the risk of sounding dismissive, that's a fairly standard story. Tell me about another customer where people listening to this program would not even think CRM was anywhere near what they do as a business, but you've made it so.
We've got another customer that deals with patient prescriptions. We've repurposed CRM to manage the tracking and dispatch of those prescriptions. Predominantly, a lot of prescriptions are the ones that we all know. When you go to the doctor, you have a prescription with a set of items on and you give it to the person and they give you your drugs back. But a lot of prescriptions are actually multi-drop. So you'd have 100 paracetamol and you might want 50 this month and 50 next month. So we've repurposed Sage CRM to use the opportunity entity as the prescription entity, and then the individual drops as orders, and then obviously the items as the items on that. And that manages the whole phoning up at the customers, etc. So not used as traditional sales, but as a repurposed sort of front end. We've used
because at the center of it all is the customer, and then there are processes that support that customer, in this case, ordering and delivery, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and the center of that actually stems from the patient. So it's majority around person records, and people see a lot of the time a CRM system as a sales tool, business to business, around your relationship to your customers. But CRM over the years it has changed massively, and nowadays it's about your suppliers, it's about business to consumer, it's about your internal needs and the way in which you might relate between your salespeople and your accounts people. So it can manage a lot more than just your interactions with your customers and prospects.
Danny, you're one of, I think you'd be content to be described as one of the leading development partners for Sage CRM. Your products, Qmulus's products, were amongst the first listed on the ISV marketplace for Sage. What was your experience joining the program and the benefits that you've achieved from that?
The ISV marketplace has been launched in the US and the UK, I think, so far. And then what it does, it allows us as development partners to partner with Sage to advertise our various add-ons. And our first one on there is our Sage 200 integration. The whole process of onboarding was very good. Sage have committed a team of people to look after the engagement, both from an engagement between ourselves and Sage, but also from a marketing perspective between Sage and the customers, etc. So that whole process was fairly seamless. We joined fairly early doors, so the marketplace was still being created at the time. So we were helping, doing some work around how to get stuff on there rather than it being an active live marketplace as it is now. But yeah, it was a good experience. Sage have helped us a lot. We talk almost every week actually with Sage around ways in which we can utilize their marketing and also their networking between other ISV providers, etc. And as ISV providers, we meet with Sage at least once a week to have conversations around how we can help Sage, how Sage can help us, and the general way in which the Sage ISV ecosystem works. It's been a good onboarding and good sort of relationship so far.
So further to Jeff's question then, Danny, why you're a reseller now, you're a developer, you're your own customers, what's the ISV program meaning to you? Does it do something in terms of where you're going, adding products, those sorts of things?
The ISV marketplace has allowed us to not only produce our integration and sell our integrations through the Sage platform, but it's also given us an understanding of some of the other areas of Sage CRM that could be increased and could be utilized. And one of the things that we've done over the years is we've written a piece of functionality for a customer, and then another customer's come with another requirement that's similar. So we've written that for a customer, and it becomes a sort of revolving thing where you write the same bit of work for 5 to 10 different customers. So we've started to take the approach that for each one of those bits of add-ons that we feel we can actually sort of utilize for other customers, we're starting to build them into add-ons and put them together so that customers can benefit from both a reduced cost of development, because they're not buying a development, they're buying a product, but also that we can standardize that and offer that out to a whole range of customers that might benefit. We try and keep those add-ons as simple as possible. So we've got add-ons that enable us to have rapid quote and order entries through keyboard entry on one screen. We've got enhancements to allow things like scheduled reporting to happen from CRM. So we can say a report's going to go out every Monday morning at 9:00 and stuff like that. So a whole range of these mini sort of low cost add-ons that we've put together. And in the UK, there's quite a large amount of partners that are adding these add-ons onto almost every single implementation, at least on a discussion point. So it's
and it's a win for everybody, because as you say, you don't have to rewrite everything all the time. The customer gets a cheaper and tested product, right? Because you know it works for lots of customers.
Absolutely, and they also get the benefits of all of the update because they're a subscriber. They have access, obviously, to all the new updates and features that come out with that. So that's been a really good area for us and a growing area for us as we help other partners and other partners' customers maximize their investment via very low cost add-ons that maybe help cure and fix certain small bits that they want to improve within the system.
My thanks to Danny Lewis from Qmulus Solutions in the UK, who specialize in bringing Sage CRM and Sage 200 together, plus delivering implementation services and component add-ons for customers in the UK and around the world. You've been listening to Talking CRM with Jeff and David, getting the best for the whole organization from your integrated CRM and accounting systems.